Welcome to the fourth day of the 12 Days of Christmas series. Today I will be creating a cookie clicker game with Pygame. So here I have the template for a Pygame window. To start off, I want my background to be the color light blue. So I will do screen.fill light blue. And here we go. Here's my window. And let's get started with making the cookie first. So I'm going to make a new file called cookie. And I'm going to import Pygame, get my constants, make a class cookie init method, and my image will be pygame image load my cookie png convert alpha, and I'm going to get a rect out of it because we are going to be clicking on it, and we want the center to be window width divided by 3, so it's going to be a third of the way through, and my window height divided by 2. Let's make the draw method pass in my screen, and I'm gonna blitz my image onto the rect. So we can go here from cookie, import my cookie, and then make an instance of it. Now right below our screen fill, I can do cookie.draw. Pass my screen through, and now we see my gingerbread here. Now let's get working on a counter to show how many times I've clicked on it. So I'm going to make a new file called counter. I'm going to import Pygame and get my constants again. I'm going to make a class called counter. And in my init method, I want a font to render. So Pygame font system font. And we'll be using Comic Sans at the size of 42 pt. And my current amount of points is 0. So self.text, self.font render. And we want to make an f string that contains our current points, no anti-aliasing, and the color black. And the position of the text will be 3/4 into it. So I'm going to multiply it by 3/4, and the y will be when height divided by 6. And in terms of our text rect, text.getRect, and the center of it will be where the position is. So now if we draw this onto the screen, so blitz self.text onto my text box. We go in here from counter, import my counter, make an instance of it. Down here, do counter.draw onto my screen. You can see I have 0 here. Now to start counting, I want to make a increment method. So def increment. And whenever this is called, I want self.points to go up by 1 and basically remake my self.text and self.text box to always keep it at the center position. So if I go here into my event handler, if my event type is mouse button down and the button is a left click, which means 1. If cookie rect.collide point, and instead of using Pygame mouse get position, we can just get event position and it returns the same thing. Then I want counter increment. If I run this now, every time I click on the cookie, it's going to increment up 1. So now that we have the cookie done and the counter done, let's get things that you can purchase. You can see here that I have a bow tie, buttons, face, and some lines. And we're going to put those all into a list. So here, I'm going to say purchase items and make a list of all these image.load. So it's going to look something like this: bow tie, buttons, face, lines, convert alpha. And we want these images to show up in buttons that we can then click on whenever we have enough points. So let's make a new Python file and call it shop. So in here, import Pygame class item, and we're going to be using a group on this one. So I'm going to inherit from sprite. So what we first need is a group. Then we need the color of the box to differentiate them. So it's going to be an int. Then I want a position in tuple form. I need the value of it in integer form, so how much it's going to cost. And then the image that I'm going to put onto it. And it's going to be a type surface. So with that said, let's call the super classes init and put our group in there. Self.value is value. Self.color is going to be color, color, color. And then our fonts be Pygame font.system font, Comic Sans at size 36. So now we have those preloaded. Everything has been set for factory setting. We can create the surface and text and images. So self surf, it's going to be Pygame transform scale, and I'm going to scale my image down to 100 by 60 pixels. Self-direct, so surface get rect. I want to set the mid bottom to my position. And that's going to ensure symmetry with everything else since the others are using center, but I'm going to use bottom for this so that it gets pushed up some more. And my text surface will be font.render. I'm going to display my value. I do not want anti-aliasing, and I'm going to set the text to black. So now I'm going to draw this. Def draw, and I'm going to blit my surface onto the rect. That's going to be my image. And then I want to display the cost of this item right next to it. So self.text, and its top left is going to be on my rect top right. And just to have some background on it, Pygame, draw rect onto my screen using the color that I created on my rect dimensions. If I go back to my main, I'm going to make a item group for my items. So Pygame sprite group for I in range of the length of my purchase items. I'm going to make a new item for each one. First, I need to import it. So from shop, import item, and it needs my item group as the first parameter. Then it needs a color. So I'm going to get integer. So I'm going to do 255 divided by I plus 1, because if I kept it as I and it started at 0, I can't do division by that. And color needs to be an integer, so I'm just going to do a quick conversion. All right, next argument is going to be my position. So the position I want it to be in is window width times 3/4, like we did with the score. And then in terms of how far apart we want them to be, I want it to be I times 60 plus win height divided by 2. And the reason I have 60 selected is because that is the height of our cubes and I want them right next to each other. And plus window height divided by 2 ensures that it starts at the center of the screen and then goes downward. And next argument, it needs the value. So I'm going to get I plus 1 because I don't want it to start off at 0 times 25. So it's going to go 25, 50, 75, 100. And very last thing is the image. So I'm going to get my purchase items and iterate using our I. So now that we have 4 different items with a lot of unique attributes, we are going to iterate through it and present them on the screen. So for item in item group, item.draw screen. So you see our colors that are being changed by how far from the spawn point they are. So white, gray, and it gets darker. They have the bow tie, buttons, face, and lines on them, and how much they cost. Now, the thing is, how do I purchase this, make it disappear, and have it appear on the cookie, as well as subtract from how much money I have? So I'm going to use enumerate through our item group. So for index and item in enumerates item group, if item rect collide point with event.pause, and the amount of points we have in our counter is greater than or equal to the value of the item that we clicked on, then we want our counter points to be subtracted by the item's value that we clicked on, and then we want to remove the item from the group. So if you run this now, and I get up to 25 points, once I click on this, it now disappears. Now, how to show it on the gingerbread? So in our cookie class, I want to add a method called add feature. What we want is an index value, and then we want a parts list in here. Input as a parameter. So parts list, self.parts, our parts list, and self.showing is none. So self.showing, append from our parts using our index val, and then we want our parts to pop in the index val. So we go back to our main, and in here, our parts list is basically our purchase items. So one more thing, we want to show what is in our showing list, what we appended to it. So with that, we want to first check if showing has anything in it. So if self.showing for parts in self.showing, screen blit parts at our rect. So now if we go back here, once we purchase it, it won't show yet because we still have to use our add feature method. So in here, we want cookie, add feature, and we're going to feed in the index. So now if we run it and I go up to my 25 to purchase my bow tie, the bow tie has been added. And if I go up to 75 to purchase the 75.1, you can see we have the face. All right, so we are just almost done. I just want to add one more implementation, which is closing the game once you purchase every single item. So let's create a variable called numComplete 0. And then I just want to add one every time we purchase something. So add one. And since we have 4 things originally, I just want to detect if numComplete becomes greater than 4, then run is equal to false. So now if we purchase everything, the game should close. Okay, maybe it's equal to 4. Okay, so this is the game for today, a small cookie clicker. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you for tomorrow's new game.